Yeah, now it
Okay.
says the right.
Okay. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I don't know what happened, but we were prepping for this, and apparently we were live. So you all wonderful people out there saw a little bit how the sausage is being made, and I showed like all my printouts. You saw our friendly banter, how we're gonna do it. So, and obviously, you probably heard that Zahid is a YouTube king, and I learned all my tips from Zahid. But if you want to go on YouTube and follow me or subscribe, right, Zahid? That's what you call on YouTube, subscribe.
Yeah, subscribers,
Um,
followers, everything is fine.
Mhm.
Absolutely. So
Yeah.
we're gonna give it a couple of minutes to start the predictions because we have a lot of registrants. So maybe in the next 2 minutes we can introduce ourselves. So we're not just telco industry colleagues; we're also friends. We've known each other for a very long time, and you will see it in this session because I respect these two gentlemen very, very much. I learned a lot from them, and they always, always, always keep me on my toes. Okay, Sanjay, do
Yeah.
an introduction first, then Zahid, and I'll close it off and I'll start the session.
Okay, thanks, Eugina. Thanks for bringing us together, right? So, last couple of years has been a roller coaster journey for me as well as a 5G world, right? So you see a lot of buzzwords were thrown upon the industry, and then there were some challenges which were faced by various companies. The recent one, which is coming as a Gen AI, LLMs, AI agents, right? So that's what we are primarily going to talk about today, right? So how these things are going to shape up the telecom industry, how this next year looks like 2025 is predicted to be a pretty bad year in terms of stock market, in terms of economies, but how it will unfold for the telecom industry, that's what we are going to talk about in this particular session. My name is Sanjay Kumar, and I'm a founder of a company called TelcoLearn, doing training and consulting related to telecom. Work. I love talking to people. Creating content. Pretty much writing on LinkedIn. That's one of the key areas I work with. Right. So happy to be here, Eugina. Thanks for bringing us here.
I love collaborating with you, gentlemen, and I'm doing a quick math in my hand. And Zahid goes, "Oh no, marketing math." So we have like almost 100 years of telecom experience on this call,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Um,
So
Yeah.
which is
I'm not
amazing.
that old.
Yeah. Same. So for me, it's around 23 years, right? So yeah,
So more like 70.
yeah.
Yeah.
More-
Okay, 20, 24 for me, 23 for Zahid, for Sanjay, and how many for Zahid? And then you can do your
26.
introduction. How many?
26.
26. Okay. So, Zaki, please do an introduction. And to people that are joining us, like Carlo, he is saying Happy New Year, greetings from Mexico City. Nice to see you here. Nice to have you on this session, Carlo. So, let us know in the comments while Zahid is doing an introduction where you watching us from.
Hello, everyone. So my name is Zahid Ghadiali, and a lot of people who are on LinkedIn, they must have seen something or the other from me because I post too many things on LinkedIn. So I'm trying to cut down because LinkedIn sometimes penalizes people who post too much stuff, by not showing them in the feed all the time. Because I understand it becomes a bit boring seeing the same person again and again. So yes, I've been around in the industry for a very long time. Actually, today is the day I complete 26 years. So yes, on 15th of January in 1999, I started working in a company in Bangalore. Um, you know, looking at the start of 3G development. So I was working on the physical layer of 3G, and when I tell people, because the specifications used to be very funny, it used to have TBDs and FFS in them, because people always think it's a swear word, but FFS just stands for further studies, and TBD is to be decided. Yes, so I've been running 3G 4G for a very long time, initially as a side project since 2004. So yes, 3G 4G completed 20 years, sometime in 2024. And yeah, I'm a very curious person, so I like to learn a lot about technologies, and I share a lot of information. It may not necessarily be like that straightforward. So when we talk about technology, but I try and avoid monetization because it's a completely different challenge, right? The economies, and like which market and which technology will succeed and by how much. So I generally don't give numbers, but I like to talk about technology. So that's me in very brief. And because I'm going to talk a lot about 6G, I also have a little 6G mug, right? I'm thinking it's world's first 6G mug. So I'm having my tea while the other two people are talking.
Thank you, Zahid. Such a great introduction. And people are watching us from Saudi Arabia. Sagar is saying happy to see us. Hi, Sagar. Mohammed is watching us from Saudi Arabia, Germany, South Africa. So welcome, welcome, welcome. And to everyone who will be watching us on recording, welcome as well. You can always leave the comments in the comment section. So quick introduction. Of me, Eugina Jordan, Chief Marketing Officer, technologist, created new market category, which is actually 10 years ago. We started Open Run in 2015 before Oran Alliance or TEEP existed. I have 8 issued and 16 pending patents, and I love innovating. And you also probably know me as a big advocate of AI. I have a genAI for Business newsletter, and I love sharing insights on AI. Thank you very much for joining us. So before when we were preparing for this session, we created a Google Doc, and I asked my co-presenters to put 3 predictions for 2025. So let's just call out those 3 predictions. So for all of you watching us, you will know what we're going to be talking about. So I'm going to go first at Sanjay and then Zahid, because this will be the order of our session. I'm going to be talking about very dear topic to my heart, Open RAN, and I'm going to be talking about the RIC prediction, near real time intelligent controller, radio controller. And I'm also going to be talking about AI in telco on 2 specific predictions. One will be around multimodal, and the second one will be around agentic AI and conversational AI. So those are my 3 predictions that I will be covering. Now, Sanjay, what are you
Yeah.
going to be talking about? Your predictions.
So if you see, AI has been a buzzword, just like network slicing, private network, and Open RAN has been a buzzword for last few years in 5G. The AI, Gen AI, LLM has been a buzzword for last few months, or I'll say couple of years, right? So the typical question what the companies, or especially the mobile network operators, are asking is how do I really make money out of it, right? And I bring you a very interesting question from one of the CEO, one of the leading operator in Southeast Asia. They say, I am convinced that I should bring in AI in my network, but I'm not sure how to convince my CFO. Right. So that's the typical thing which every MNO is asking, because the telecom operators used to come up with a different mindset, sell a SIM card and then get money out of it, or bring a enterprise customer, make money out of it. Now, how do I really make money? How do I really monetize this AI in telecom when monetizing 5G itself is a kind of challenging word for everyone? The other thing is, what
Okay, so
actually.
Sanjay, this is the first prediction you're going to be talking about. I'm going to be talking about the technology, the LLMs, all
Yeah,
that good stuff, how it's going to
yeah.
evolve. And you're going to be talking about how they can monetize. This is one of your
That's right. Yeah.
predictions. Then
The
your
the second
second one.
the second one is, what actually AI means to MNOs, right? So what actually is AI for MNOs? What how they really perceive this. And the third one is, I keep on hearing this word telco to techco. Every telco is trying to become like a telco. What is the path towards that? How do we really reach to that level? That's what I'm going to talk about. Yeah, these are the three things what I'm going to discuss here.
Okay, so this is your three predictions. Zahid, what are your going to be three predictions for 2025? Because you were going to be closing off this session because yours are really futuristic.
Yes, so when I started looking at things, and there were so many topics to choose from, right? Because I might, and we might actually be focused on a narrow area where you see us do things on LinkedIn. But then there are things with IoT, with things like LoRaWAN, Wi-Fi evolution, right? Like Wi-Fi 7 is already here, and Open RAN, so many things going on. But what I decided is I chose three very simple topics. The first is about 6G and the spectrum in particular, like what spectrum is going to be used. The second is about something about satellite connectivity and the non-terrestrial networks, and it's more of a fear rather than a prediction, and I'll talk about it. And the third one is a topic which is very close to my heart: private 5G networks.
Fantastic. So let's dive in. And before we dive in, I want to acknowledge that telecom industry for the last 2 years been in a little bit of turmoil. We've seen a lot of consolidations and layoffs. So my honest hope, because I love this industry, that 2025, this year, is where, with the help of AI and strategic integration of predictive, conversational, and GenAI into our networks, we will see our industry recover and bring value to our customers. So any comments on, that? I'm an internal optimist. So that's what I hope for. Sanjay, Zahid, any comments, or should we just dive in?
We can just dive in, and but I agree with you, but there are too many challenges, and I think I'll point out some of them.
Absolutely. So in the first challenge, I'm going to start with my prediction. Prediction number one is AI in network or network in AI. So it's around how operators gonna bring AI into their network. So let's be realistic. AI is nothing new and especially predictive AI is nothing new to mobile networks. Remember, such concept and technology as SON, self-optimizing networks, it was based on AI and machine learning. So what will be new? Last year at Mobile World Congress, almost a year ago, I was on a panel talking about generative AI for telcos. And I was asked the question if telcos should develop their own LLMs. Guess what my answer was? I'm going to bring the other presenters. Guess what my answer was? Yeah or nay? What did I answer?
Yes.
Yes, of course.
No. I said no. And it's not a tricky question. Why? Because for a few particular reasons. Number one, developing your own LLM model from scratch, it's very resource intensive. We see many companies that launched new open source models like Snowflake, not getting any downloads, and they've invested millions and millions and millions of dollars into training their LLMs. Mobile operators, they don't have that funding. And operators last year that made announcements that they were going to create their own LLMs by the end of 2024 didn't follow through because that's a challenge. Compute resources are very challenging and it takes a lot of money. Let's just use the fact about OpenAI. They burning through their funding, but they have deep pockets. Mobile operators do not. So what I suggested, and I'm going to stay behind this for 2025 as well, for mobile operators is to take an existing LLM and train it with their data set. Mobile operators are sitting on a pot of gold of data, and they can take their data, structure it, clean it, and train that LLM. The question remains is how long does it take to train an LLM? So it takes between 3 to 9 months. So if you mobile operators out there decide to try training your LLM, the time is now. Don't look in developing one. Partner with organizations that have open source LLMs like Llama, for example, and start training. That's number one. Number two, in parallel, do two things: clean your data and establish governance, because bringing AI into your network, you will be dealing with a lot of data, so treat it as GDPR. So because it's a similar framework and all the laws that are being introduced in Europe are similar. So that's my prediction. Number one is you need to redefine your approach to LLMs, and by training another all regular available LLM, you will have access to best-in-class multi-mode LLMs, and it will allow you to monetize the use cases. And this is my first prediction. And now I want to go to Sanjay because his prediction is around monetizing AI. So I set the ground for the technical implementation, data governance, LLM selection. So the question now remains, can they monetize it? So Sanjay, over to you.
Okay, yeah, thanks, Eugina. A very good point what you made, right? And my point is more about whether this monetizing AI in telecom, whether it is a myth or reality, and how operators have to answer it. The very first thing what operators or the mobile companies has to do very carefully is whether they want to use it as a money making tool or a money saving tool, cost saving tool. So whether they want to make money out of it or want to save money out of it. Like you rightly mentioned, this is not a new thing for the operators, and it comes from the days of SON. Traditionally worked in the network operation center or NMS or EMS. I can relate how this FCAPS thing started, and over the period of time, we brought in a lot of machine learning, artificial intelligence, self-optimizing, organizing networks, right? But that's what's more about cost saving, and operator always use that as a plug and play modules which were coming from the OEMs. So they were just using the things what were provided to them as an OEM. This is the time when operator has to start, if they really, that was always for the cost saving. So how do you really minimize the cost in the network operations? But if they want to really make money out of it, they can't really completely rely on the third party products or third party applications. They have to get to the ground, co-develop something, create something which is desired for their use cases, desired for their customer, and then only it can make a actual difference to the operator's life, right? So for me, they have to have a clear strategy whether they want to use this AI for making money or for saving their cost. and then only it will make sense, and that will define how they will be able to monetize this AI in their future networks. So that's my first prediction. They have to be very clear about it, and until unless they find this clarity, I don't think that this is going to go long way, right? So that can become another blunder again. So have to have that clarity whether I want to make money or I want to save money with the AI, and develop solutions, build the solutions according to that. That is going to make more sense.
I love that. Make money or save money. So save money on operational costs or make money with the new services. And I'm going to switch the gears a little bit because making money made me think about Zahid's prediction around private networks and 5G. So, is it making money, saving money? Because as we know, 5G has not been monetized to the way mobile operators been expecting to monetize it. So why private 5G? Because you were very keen on that prediction.
So, but I want to actually talk about 6G first, because that ties in with your AI native, right? So 6G is supposed to be AI native network, and the argument against 6G is, well, 5G isn't making money, so should we do 6G? But yes, the point Sanjay made, if you have AI in the network, it can actually help you save money rather than make money. And we can always discuss like whether it's really that way. But whether we like it or not, at MWC, which is just in just over a month, you're going to hear about a lot about 6G, right? But what I want to really point out is, because there is already too much information about 6G. So you often hear people say like, oh look, I have this 6G this, I have 6G that. Oh, read this document, this gives everything about 6G. uh, but a lot of that thing is basically rubbish. There is just too much rubbish about 6G right now, right? The predictions, the forecasts and things like that, because we don't really know what the technology is going to be. But the thing which we really know and we have learned from 5G is, we are not going to have terahertz or sub terahertz spectrum. The initial spectrum would actually be, what we call as the upper mid band, which is the centimeter wave, right? But the thing is, actually, all frequency we use is centimeter wave. So you're talking about from 7 gigahertz to around 24 gigahertz. That band is going to be the most important band. And in many parts of the world, operators would be able to get at least 200 megahertz of spectrum in that particular band. But in some parts they will also have 400 megahertz. So think about all the things they can do. So when we're talking about coverage, we will have uh, more advanced beam forming, right? Ultra massive MIMO or gigantic MIMO or giga MIMO and things like that. So all of those things will actually help the 6G coverage to be sort of on par with the C band. Exactly the details we need to really wait and see how which waveforms are used, what other things are standardized. But coming back to your point, Eugina, about monetization of 5G, right? This is generally what people think, that 5G has sort of been failure, but it hasn't really been failure. There are too many things going on with 5G, and people are not looking at the big picture. So one of the biggest things that's going on is softwareization and virtualization. So you know all of 5G standalone core, or the 5G core which you get, it's a software based core. Okay. And 5G was, it's not that 5G, so of course 5G standards are written in such a way, you have network functions and you need to have slicing and all kinds of things, so you need to have everything software based. But it's basically has been a catalyst. So people are, or the vendors and the networks are creating converged core. So some of the operators who had who had the legacy cores plus a fixed core, right? They have actually combined everything to create a converged core. So you have one core serving everything. Similarly, there are so many other innovations going on, and it's not directly related to 5G. In a way, yes, they are, but that's basically creating a network which is lean and which is efficient, and this is going to help in 6G. So I just wanted to point that thing out.
Thank you so much, Zahid. I was trying to unmute myself because didn't want to make a rookie mistake about speaking on mute. So it's a very interesting prediction around how 5G will intersect with 6G. And I'm gonna look at some comments. So Gleb, he actually wrote another comment on Zahid and Sanjay. Actually, I'm going to direct that comment to you. I'm going to read his comment. Telcos will use open source LLMs approach as it's less risky, as I was saying, in terms of security and less cost. So absolutely. And then there's a discussion in the comments about the killer app. So I want you gentlemen to read while I'm going to go in my other prediction about use cases for mobile operators for AI. Okay, so if we talk about the bringing AI in the network, we need to think about comprehensive use case prioritization. So we already discussed optimizing network operations, but the use cases need to be prioritized, and the use cases should be around fault prediction and proactive maintenance. This is what Sanjay was saying about saving money. So when we look about other comprehensive use cases, they are around making money. So it's offering services like fraud detection and anti-phishing, and that will help to drive ROI for enterprise customers or regular customers. And other one is neither make money or save money. It's rather an innovation that I predict will happen. There will be multi-agent LLMs using those agents for orchestration and for RAG, and that will need to be based on technical readiness and strong business validation. So, how can they build that infrastructure, mobile operators, that will enable these use cases? Number one, it's scalable AI infrastructure with multi-tenancy. AI, you can build AI at scale with multi-tenant architectures and using different types of GPUs. There's many on the market available, NVIDIA, AMD, and so on, combined with AI accelerators. And again, there's many available from Intel to Habana, and using different types of GPUs, FPGAs, and using that scalable AI infrastructure will allow preemptive scheduling and implementing AI for QoS where orchestration that will allow dynamic resource scheduling that will help make money and save money. And lastly, going back to prediction around the discussion around LLMs will become distributed. The reason is because the only way to distributed interference is and minimize latency is with distributed LLMs. So there will be two types of models. Lightweight will be at the edge, working with the edge AI-enabled devices, and there will be centralized models for complex reasoning and multi-mode processing. That's my second prediction. Any comments, Sanjay? Because you're as deep in AI as me. Any comments?
Okay, so if you see, that also leads to my second prediction, or to talk about what AI means to mobile network operator. And I also have a slightly difference of opinion here when you say, okay, whether to build our own LLM or, just use the generic LLMs which are available, open source LLMs which are available. I feel there is a larger collaboration which is required in between the telecom companies. I'm not saying only the mobile network operator, the companies which are typically the OEMs, which has been building these softwares and hardwares from many years, I'll say many decades, and the operators who are using it and who are sitting on the gold mine of data, right? I feel that the way we have seen a progress, and I call it a progress because that's what I was expecting from last 5 years, and this has finally happened in 2024, where Ericsson has come up with 11 leading mobile network operator to create a joint venture to talk about network APIs, right? And that's what I feel is going to be way forward, where the operators and OEMs and system integrators has to come together, and then only they will be able to actually get the best benefits of artificial intelligence, AI, ML, Gen AI, LLM, or whatever we call it, right? Another interesting thing, the way operator have moved in the last 5 years, they have moved from a connectivity provided provider to the service provider. Earlier, they were just talking about providing the connectivity, and now we are integrating or at least bundling a lot of services in our subscription plans. I see a lot of data-driven innovation, data-driven applications, which will also lead the way in the upcoming couple of years. So there are two things what I feel what AI means to MNO. That is a closer collaboration with the operators, OEM, system integrators to define the path forward, and then changing from connectivity provider to the service provider to the data or the application provider. That's what I see as a path in next couple of years when it comes to AI for mobile network operators.
Absolutely, 100%. I believe that to build proper AI systems or strategies, it needs to be a collaboration, and the ecosystem is evolving. New players come on board, from chipset manufacturers to hyperscalers to regulators and so on. So 100% agree. And especially, it will become very important for one of my other predictions, which I'm going to save for a little bit later. I'm going to go to Zahid next, because your prediction around satellite, again, talks about the ecosystem, because I believe that will be prediction or thread across all of our predictions. Ecosystem is needed for Open RAN, ecosystem is needed for telco AI, ecosystem is needed for 6G to monetize 5G, and also it's needed for satellites. Zahid, take it away.
Yeah, if I quickly answer Gleb's question, right, about the killer app, and you are right, actually. um, it's a wrong approach, and people focus too much on it, but there are so many things happening during what's going on with the whole infrastructure thing. It's not just about killer app, right? So coming to Sanjay's first point, so, or something in general, so you either make money or you save money, right? And there are all these technologies which are coming together is going to help operators save money in the long term, right? And for the killer app, I have a joke. I don't know if you have seen it. The killer app for 5G is actually speed test, because that's what you do, right? When you get a 5G phone, what do? You do a speed test to show, like, hey, look, I've got a 5G phone, right? I can get 800, 700 mbps. You don't really need to use that much, but that's how it is. So yes, talking about my second prediction, it's more on satellites and NTN. And there have been some unfortunate events which have happened in Los Angeles, where you saw the announcement that Starlink and T-Mobile, they have switched on emergency messaging service. Now, I haven't really seen whether it worked, how well it worked, and things like that. But this is the future. So We are talking about the direct to devices or direct to handset voice kind of thing, emergency messaging. But we are also looking at very low data rate broadband. So if you are lost somewhere and your normal mobile network is not available, so you cannot load maps or you cannot figure out the direction. If you have a very low data rate broadband, you can still load maps and you can get like a way to reach, to get out of it, right, to go wherever you want to do. So yeah, that's the great thing. We are going to see a lot of announcements on the handsets, the chipset supports and things like that. The only thing which I am sort of really worried about is the monetization of that. So there are a lot of players, they are trying to do a lot of interesting things. So from the satellite point of view, the satellite operators, the satellite manufacturers, but how many of them will really succeed needs to be seen. And which spectrum will they use, and what would be like the limitations. And this sort of little bit worries me, because there are some industry analysts who predict that by 2026, 2027, a lot of the current operators might actually go out of service. So they might be bought over by somebody else, which is great, they can still be operational. Or in some cases they will just completely go out of run out of money, and there will be nobody using their constellation. So that is something we need to be mindful of, and we should be all worried about. Back to you, Eugenia.
Thank you, Zahid, and for these thoughts. Very interesting because you're bringing up predictions around consolidation. So consolidation, I think it's going to be the theme for 2025 and 26, not just for vendor community, but also for the operator community. And that's where the AI strategy, RAN strategies, core strategies, 5G strategies, they need to be taken really, really seriously. So my next prediction, and Zakid, I want to pull you in, and Sanjay as well, because you've been doing a lot of work on courses around Open RAN. So that's why I'm going to leave all three of us on, and we're going to talk about my prediction around RIC. So I wrote recently an op-ed, maybe 2 or 3 months ago, about the status and how I view Open RAN, because we started Open RAN 15 years ago with one idea, is to disaggregate the RAN. And back then, we were very naive, right, Zahid? We thought we could build the next radio. 10 years later, we realized, and many people in the industry realized, it's a very expensive business to build radios. And again, 10 years later, it's an industry movement. Everyone came on board, and big suppliers, they opened up their radios. So I don't believe that innovation will be happening in the hardware side. Of course, there will be some, small cells, Open RAN 5P and 5P based coming on the market. I believe that innovation will be happening in the software side, DUCU software, where it can be uploaded on COTS service from generic hardware suppliers. But also, I think that RIC will become more prominent in 2025 because for two reasons. Number one, the specifications are mature. When we started the movement, there was no specifications. Now the specifications are mature. That's number one. And number two, there's a lot of innovation can happen with smaller startups because it's much easier to build an XAPS or RAP and then partner with the larger providers to get onboarded onto their platform. So even last year, DoD here in the US, they were running a competition for um, RApps and XApps around security. I've seen personally, there's a lot of RApps around power consumption, handover optimization, and so on. So my prediction is OpenRAN is entering the new stage when software, Rick, becomes a king. Over to you, Zahid.
Um, so I have a slightly different take. So maybe in the short term, software is the king, right? Because we are still developing things. But in the long term, what would actually become a differentiator is a hardware. So when because the LLMs are getting powerful, becoming better, and there are companies working on generating code from standards using LLM. So of course you have to understand for any network, right? And I'm not just talking about the mobile, even for the likes of Wi-Fi, there are some algorithms which is actually the differentiator, which are proprietary. But then there is a lot of generic code, and right now a lot of bugs in this generic code actually hampers development. So these generic bugs need to be reduced and testing needs to speed up. So LLMs are going to come into play, make things simpler, and then their differentiator would be hardware. But that's going to be like 20 30ish kind of thing, so maybe perfect for 60. But yes, a lot of things need to happen in the meantime, for especially for open RAN and things like that. Rig is of course a very big part because it has a lot of intelligence. You can plug in the different kinds of apps and things like that. We are still, the level of maturity is still not there. It's going to take another 2 3 years. That's my worry. If you want to have multiplayer plug and play, it's going to take time. If it's a single player, yes, you have it today, it's working, but then it's not really open, or it has a potential to be open maybe.
I would say potential of being open because I see XApps and RApps vendors being onboarded on those um, large vendor rig platforms. So I think the movement is already starting, will make more progress. And obviously there need to be more testing done because obviously supervised and unsupervised training of those LLMs and machine learning, and it's all comes down to data, how data going to be managed and whatnot. So Sanjay,
Okay,
prediction on Rick.
yeah, Eugenia, if you see, I still feel that the traditional architecture of open and what we are referring to and what we see till today have some critical things missing there, right? I still feel that, right? And I consider this, don't think that I'm talking about edge computing, but typically when we talk about edge computing, I consider Rick as a edge computing platform for open RAN, because we are doing some kind of control, running some applications closer to the edge of the radio network. May not be towards the user, but towards the radio network. I see talking about applications, talking about application portability, right? Until unless we create interworking between multiple near RT where they are sharing the data, the applications can be ported from one near RT to another near RT. That is one of the sweet spot which is still missing in the open architecture, and I think going forward, OpenRAN or an alliance or TIP has to address that. Otherwise, this may not be as mature as we may feel it may be in another 5 6 years. That is one area what I feel that has some potential to grow in the architecture itself, where we the near arteries and the lower components can also talk to each other, right? Where the architecture where we have CUCP and CUUP are talking to each other, similar kind of interaction between the near arteries. The other area what I feel is the Y1 consumer, which was a not recent, but some time back we introduced it. But as of now, I see that is one area that can become another, data analytics engine, or at least a exposure engine to the radio network. So these are two areas where I feel open and have a lot of potential to grow, but it will require a slightly different architecture and slightly different thought process. That's what I feel.
Absolutely. And I think it answers the question that we just got. It will mature and work in 5G, or will it only be initial stage and will mature in 6G? Yes and yes.
Mm.
I also want to give a shout out, and I hope I pronounce your name correctly, McKinsey. He's watching us from Los Angeles, so I'm gonna. Um, I hope you and yours are, staying safe in this natural disaster that Los Angeles is going through right now. Um, so we talked about LLMs. We talked about AI in the network. We talked about a lot about um, 5G and private networks. So your last prediction, Sanjay,
Yeah.
telco or techo?
Okay.
So,
So
and it's
yeah, right. So if you see, recently every requirement, every questions what we are getting are around two things. The first thing is talking about AI, ML, Gen AI, LLM, etc. The other one is talking about we are doing a transition from telco to techco, and what is the way forward. And I generally, answer it in both the things. I have almost a similar answer, and I will refer it to uh, something which is coming from the AI RAN Alliance. If you talk about the basic agenda of AI RAN Alliance, they typically talk about three things: AI for RAN, AI on RAN, and AI and RAN. Right. So these are the three things we talk about. But I feel before we talk about telco or techco or a telco to techco transition, the very first thing what we need is the telco alliance. Even before we talk about AI RAN alliance or RAN alliance, the telco alliance. Until unless telcos alliance, align with each others, and as I mentioned earlier as well, right? So a closer collaboration required between the telcos. The second thing, again referring back to the three work groups of AI RAN alliance, which talks about, I will say, AI on telco, AI and telco, and AI for telco. These are the three things they need to define. These are the three things they need to define. Uh, Without defining those things, transition from telco to techco is not going to be easy, right? So whether they want to use these technologies, these techs, right, what they are trying to build around AI, ML, around Gen AI, whether they want to use it as a value add services on top of their network, or they want to use these applications within their network, or they want to offer this as a separate service altogether, just as a AI service, not as a telco AI service. That is going to chart the way how they will progress in their telco to telco journey. So AI on telco, AI for telco, AI and telco, how they really define these things, and that's pretty much uh, required for any telcos before they start talking about being a telco. So this is something which I see as a differentiator, whether this telco will be able to have a successful transition toward telco or not. This is something which has to be defined, and this I see a very, very important thing for any telco to talk about before they talk about telcos.
absolutely. So it's not going to be the buzzword. I'm reading comments for 2025. I personally think telco AI will be the buzzword for 2025. And to answer the question, Gleb had a question about hosting third-party apps in their Mac servers. Mobile operator is not going to be happy to do it. So it all comes down to the business strategy. If it's going to make you money or save you money, you will come up with the right ecosystem and to implement it. So, on that note, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us for Telecom Prediction for 2025. I always come back a year later to my post on predictions or sessions on predictions. and I analyze what was true, what happened, what didn't happen. So, as a closing thought, which
Oh,
prediction?
sorry, Eugina, I just have a question, and I would like you to add a couple of lines there. Nowadays, another thing, what is talking about, we are talking about is AI agents or agentic AI, right? So just a couple of lines. How do you really see that happening in telco? We all know GenAI, LLM things, right? So agentic AI, how it is important for telco, and how do you see that in telcos? Yep. Thank you.
Good question. Good question. So, agentic AI, shortly, it's AI that takes inputs and then automates certain tasks. So, it will probably happen in stages in telco. First, it's going to happen in customer service, where conversational AI will be married with Gen AI and then agentic AI, because it's much easier to put guardrails in place and so on for your customer service. And then it will be probably implemented in the network because, again, ladies and gentlemen, AI is not new to telco. Son automating without intervention been around for years and years and years. So it's just applying that technology to the new, running it on new hardware using new LLMs. So that's what I will believe will happen, starting with the customer service, then going into the network.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yep.
Hope it answers the question. I want to, there's so many questions. So the three of us, we were discussing before this, if we should do maybe like quarterly sessions like that. So there's so many questions. So if you want us to turn this into quarterly sessions, put yes in the comments. Even if you're watching it on recording, and we'll think about doing something like that quarterly, because I really enjoy collaborating with Sanjay and Zahid, and I also enjoy um, listening and reading all the comments. Okay, so if we were to bet, if we were betting men and women, which I'm not, and we were to bet on one prediction, what prediction would we bet on? So, Sanjay, you go first. And
Sorry,
then,
can you repeat it? I was just trying to answer someone in the chat box. Yeah.
oh,
Can
okay, okay. So, I'm going to answer then first. One prediction that I'm going to bet on is the LLM prediction that mobile operators will be training other people's models, because it will allow them bring AI into the network to meet the use cases much faster. That's my
yeah.
prediction I'm betting on. Zahid, what is the prediction, if you were a betting man, you would bet on?
Well, actually, you know, we skipped me talking about private 5G. And actually, I want to talk about private 5G, and because that's also the bet. Uh, because regardless of what people say, private networks are just going to gain more acceptance. Uh, you can do private 4G as well. A lot of use cases can be solved by private LTE or even with private Wi-Fi. But the fact that because for 5G you have a lot more bandwidth available in most countries, you're going to see the take up, start ramping up, and many people have said this is going to be the year, and yes, it could be this year. So I don't know if you're going to do quarterly, but in any case, when we come next year, you would see a lot more private network deployments having happened and a lot more use cases.
Okay, that's your bet. Okay, fantastic.
Yeah.
And Sanjay, yours.
Yeah. So I feel 2025 is going to be the year when there are a lot of new collaborations, a lot of new alliances, what we are going to see between the telecom companies, where operator used to be very very close with their data, right? So they say data is very close to my heart, I can't give to anyone else. But that's what they have to break that bond and try to collaborate with the industry players, come together, uh, define some way forward. That's what I feel is going to be one of the game changer for the operators, that overall industry in 2025.
And on that note, I believe the ecosystem is going to evolve in 2025 as well. Thank you very much for watching.
Yep.
And until next time, thank you very much, Sanjay and Zahid. Enjoyed the collaboration. And everyone, until next time.
Yep.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks,
Thanks,
Eugenia.
everyone. Thanks a
Thanks,
lot.
Sanjay.
Have a good day. Take care. Yeah. Thanks for joining
Cheers.
in.
Bye.